Have you ever wondered how an actress whose smoky voice and piercing gaze left audiences spellbound could lead a life far more complex and, at times, heartbreaking than anything that appeared on screen? Today we're diving deep into the remarkable story of Suzanne Pleshette, an actress lauded for her sultry presence in films and television, yet burdened by personal misfortunes and professional challenges that few suspected. Born into a Russian Jewish family in 1937, Suzanne attended some of the most elite performing arts institutions of her day, starred in a host of screen and stage productions, maintained tumultuous relationships that included 3 marriages, and endured significant health struggles before passing away in 2008, only days short of her 71st birthday. But don't be fooled by that quick summary. Her journey carries layers of complexity. From her early days in Brooklyn Heights and Manhattan's top acting schools, to the heartbreak of miscarriages, romantic separations, and the ultimate health battle she waged against lung cancer, it is fascinating to note how certain stars rise to prominence with apparently little effort, while others must fight through a labyrinth of personal heartbreaks and professional uncertainty. Suzanne's life is a testament to both. The daughter of a Russian Jewish couple, she was born in Brooklyn Heights on January 31st, 1937, at a time when opportunities for young Jewish performers in the United States were growing yet still constrained by mainstream expectations. The 1930s, of course, were marked by profound uncertainty on the global stage, political unrest, economic depression, and the looming threat of war in Europe. For many immigrant families in New York, success in the performing arts could be a proud if precarious path toward greater security. Suzanne's childhood might have been suffused with the dynamism of New York's cultural melting pot, but it was also influenced by the hopes of her family, who recognized her precocious talent and invested in her passion for acting. This early guidance led her to Manhattan High School of Performing Arts, an institution often revered for grooming stage and screen luminaries. There, Suzanne blossomed, honing her natural gifts and forming the disciplined work ethic that would serve her for decades. From this promising foundation, she advanced to the neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater, which was famed for its rigorous training and for producing big-name talent on Broadway and in Hollywood. It was here that she studied under Sanford Meisner, one of the most renowned acting coaches of the era. Meisner's approach emphasized emotional truthfulness and instinctive response, core principles that would have shaped Suzanne's later portrayals of sharp-witted, often sardonic characters. For a rising actress in the mid-1950s, mastering these techniques was no small accomplishment, as the industry was rapidly evolving. Method acting, introduced by figures like Lee Strasberg, Stella Adler, and Meisner, was in the ascendancy, and the transition from the theatrical style of the golden age of Hollywood to a more raw, emotionally saturated form of performance was well underway. Suzanne placed herself right at the heart of that shifting cultural landscape. Though her future professional triumphs were hardly guaranteed, Suzanne's personal life was no less dramatic than her on-stage or on-camera performances. Glimpses into her 3 marriages reveal a woman of passion, yet also one challenged by heartbreak, loss, and the demanding pulls of a career in entertainment. Her first marriage to the actor Troy Donahue began in 1964, a time when both were fresh faces in Hollywood, flush with the glow of on-screen romance. They had met working on projects like A Distant Trumpet and Rome Adventure. On screen, the pair exuded chemistry. Off-screen, they were beset by all the complexities that come with 2 young, highly public figures attempting to blend personal and professional ambitions. It was a marriage that lasted all of 8 months, short enough to become a topic of tabloid speculation as fans tried to reconcile the romantic illusions of film with the stark reality of life. After the end of that relationship, Suzanne met and later married Tom Gallagher, an oil man, a pivot away from Hollywood's limelight into a more private sphere. Though the union was significantly more stable, life dealt them a harrowing blow. Suzanne suffered a miscarriage, which would be the only time they came close to parenthood. She later expressed that she would have enjoyed raising a family with Tom, but in a telling reflection of the era's challenges for women, she also acknowledged being deeply devoted to her career, a devotion that came with its own set of sacrifices. Many actresses during the mid-20th century, faced with either familial expectations or a punishing film and TV shooting schedule, felt they had to choose. Suzanne's decision demonstrates how stardom in that era, while glamorous from the outside, could be profoundly isolating and personally costly within. Despite the heartbreak of the miscarriage and the failure to conceive afterwards, Suzanne and Tom stayed together for many years, forging a partnership that would last until Tom passed away from lung cancer in the early 2000s. Her final marriage to the actor Tom Poston added an unexpected, almost storybook twist to her romantic history. She and Tom had originally met in the late 1950s while working on the Broadway play Golden Fleecing. A spark ignited between them back then, but it quickly dimmed amid the swirling crosscurrents of their respective careers. They each moved on to marry other people, building separate personal lives, even though they occasionally crossed professional paths, most notably in the Bob Newhart Show in the 1970s. Then, in a piece of timing worthy of a stage drama, both Suzanne and Tom Poston were widowed in the early 2000s, reconnecting in their shared grief. Their rekindled romance culminated in marriage in 2001, only for it to be abruptly cut short when Tom died from respiratory failure in 2007. Their love story, spanning nearly half a century, might be seen as a testament to how unpredictably love can evolve, fade, and then reemerge, even in a profession as often punishing as the acting world. Yet relationships are just one dimension of Suzanne's multi-layered tale. Her trajectory from stage actress to film and television star was in its own right the stuff of legend. She kicked off her performance career on the stage, just a simple stage actress, as some might say, though her talent had been praised by local critics who described her voice as mesmerizing and her on-stage demeanor as both sardonic and alluring. In 1957, she took a significant step forward by making her Broadway debut in Compulsion, where she played Meyer Levine, immersing herself in a theatrical tradition that placed a high value on intensity and authenticity. 1 year later, she found herself at the Schubert Theater in New Haven, Connecticut, in a production called The Cold Wind and the War. As the roles and accolades stacked up, Suzanne refined her craft, absorbing the nuances of comedic timing and dramatic tension that would later become her hallmark on television and film. It was around this time that she found herself in competition for a role in Gypsy, one of Broadway's iconic musicals. Such an audition was not for the faint of heart. The legendary Jerome Robbins demanded disciplined singing and dancing from would-be cast members, who had to measure up to Ethel Merman's formidable presence or risk being overshadowed on stage. Suzanne made it to the final two for the role of Louise, vying against Sandra Church. Reports suggest that the creative team was deeply enamored of Suzanne's acting talents, but since Gypsy was a musical, her more limited vocal range became the deciding factor. Being effectively disqualified from a career-changing role could have been crippling to a lesser performer's self-confidence. Yet Suzanne did not let this major disappointment derail her. Instead, she went on to appear in significant productions like The Miracle Worker, in which she portrayed Anne Sullivan Macy opposite Patty Duke, a role that required not just emotional depth, but also a keen physicality given the intense physical nature of the story about Helen Keller's early education. By the late 1950s and early 1960s, Suzanne began branching out into screen roles. Her first small-screen appearance, Night Rescue, an episode of the CBS drama adventure series Harbor Master, introduced her to viewers who were beginning to embrace television as the default entertainment medium. This was a pivotal era for American television, with networks hungry for new talent. Appearances on well-known shows such as Alfred Hitchcock Presents, The Wild Wild West, Playhouse 90, and Dr. Kildare followed in short order. Each gig, even if it amounted to a cameo, helped deepen Suzanne's involvement with Hollywood and tested her range. She exuded a confident, somewhat world-weary sophistication that set her apart from the more demure female archetypes of the time, and it didn't take long for her to gather momentum in an industry always on the lookout for fresh faces. Dr. Kildare earned her the first of her Emmy recognitions, building a foundation for future successes. This was also a period of cross-pollination between film and television, as studios realized that the small screen could be a proving ground for the next wave of big-screen stars. Moreover, as the old studio system gradually loosened its grip on Hollywood, performers had more leeway to explore a variety of roles across mediums, and Suzanne seized these opportunities. She was visible in modest guest appearances, The Name of the Game, Route 66, The FBI, and The Invaders, which, though not headline roles, kept her in front of audiences and steadily built a loyal fan base. She was no overnight sensation, but her determination, grounded by years of stage training, gave her an air of steady professionalism that was increasingly valued among producers and casting directors. In 1971, the path of her career pivoted dramatically when she guested on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. The setting might have seemed ordinary enough for a working actress in the 1970s, but her appearance sparked rumors of a secret romance between her and the iconic host. To watchers of late-night TV, their banter crackled with an unexplained warmth that fueled tabloid speculation. Did that look in their eyes signal something more? Although no conclusive evidence came forth to confirm a relationship, the rumor alone may have nudged Suzanne further into the public consciousness. There was something about her intelligent wit and comedic timing that made for riveting TV, especially when sparring verbally with a host as quick-witted as Johnny Carson. This was the kind of intangible spark that can elevate an actor's profile overnight. Shortly thereafter, Suzanne landed the role that may well be her most recognizable, Emily Hartley, on The Bob Newhart Show. Airing from 1972 to 1978, the sitcom became a cultural staple. At its heart was Bob Newhart's genial deadpan persona, but Suzanne's portrayal of Emily, his supportive yet quick-to-sass wife, contributed immeasurably to the comedic chemistry. She brought a sharp-tongued affection to the part, forging a partnership with Bob Newhart that sitcom historians still hail as one of the most quietly revolutionary of that era. In an industry saturated with squeaky clean housewives and strictly domestic female roles, Emily had a career, a sense of humor to match her husband's, and a sardonic edge that kept him on his toes. Critics and fans alike lauded Suzanne's performance, resulting in 2 Emmy nominations for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. Her comedic interplay on The Bob Newhart Show made her more than just a sidekick. She was an indispensable half of a comedic duo that challenged traditional portrayals of marriage on television. When that series concluded, Suzanne returned in the last episode of another Newhart comedy project, reprising a cameo that provided fans a nostalgic jolt and linked the 2 series in an especially memorable final twist. Her comedic gifts seemed tailor-made for network television, Yet she wasn't content to remain in one mode of performance. Venturing into a solo comedic vehicle, she headlined a short-lived show titled Maggie Briggs, only to face cancellation after 7 episodes. While the project might have been unsuccessful, the attempt underscored her willingness to push beyond formulaic roles. She bounced back by focusing on new opportunities. Toward the late 1980s, she starred as Christine Broderick in Nightingales, an NBC drama from 1989 that again demonstrated her capacity to jump between genres, lighthearted sitcoms, comedic variety, and darker dramas. Another high point in her dramatic work arrived in 1990 when she portrayed Leona Helmsley in Leona Helmsley, the Queen of Mean. The real-life Helmsley was a controversial figure known for her lavish lifestyle and notoriously dictatorial management of her luxury hotel empire. Capturing Helmsley's intimidating drive and rumored cruelty demanded an actress who could pivot from poised grace to steely resolve in a heartbeat. Suzanne's performance, blending a subtle comedic edge with the severity the role demanded, earned her a Golden Globe Award and an Emmy Award nomination. It was a crowning moment in her dramatic repertoire, proving once more that her skill set extended far beyond the comedic realm. Yet behind these successes, her personal world was shaken by events beyond her control. In 2006, as rumors circulated about the health of her third husband, Tom Poston, Suzanne herself was diagnosed with lung cancer. Initially announced by her agent, the public was told she was seeking treatment at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Only days later, news outlets revealed that a routine X-ray had discovered a cancer the size of a grain of sand. While that could have signified a dire prognosis, it also meant the disease was caught early enough for aggressive treatment. In 20th century Hollywood history, there is a significant legacy of chain smoking among actors, a habit formed on film sets where cigarettes were an almost ubiquitous prop. Whether or not this was a primary factor in Suzanne's health struggles, the disease forced her to endure outpatient chemotherapy, a draining process that puts physical and emotional resilience to the test. During these treatments, she suffered complications like a pulmonary infection that left her temporarily bedridden, then pneumonia, which exacerbated her condition still further. Nevertheless, she was determined to maintain her public presence, joining the Bob Newhart Show cast reunion in 2007. Although she arrived in a wheelchair and seemed physically weakened, she displayed remarkable poise, insisting she felt as good as ever and had been declared cancer-free. In an interview with USA Today around that time, she revealed she had lost one of her lungs in the process of battling the disease, a courageous admission that underscored her determination to persevere. The final note of this courageous chapter came on January 19, 2008, when Suzanne died at her home, only 12 days shy of her 71st birthday. The specifics of her demise were not widely reported, but speculation points to complications from her long struggle against cancer. Many of those who loved her or followed her career couldn't help noting the cruel irony that she and Poston, whose rekindled love story had seemed so heartwarming, ended up passing away less than a year apart. Suzanne Pleshette was laid to rest in the Hillside Memorial Park Cemetery in Culver City, California, near Tom Poston. Only a short time after her passing, she was posthumously honored with the 2,355th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, an event that was apparently planned before her death but became an impromptu memorial. Marcia Wallace, Bob Newhart, and Arte Johnson spoke at the star's unveiling, praising Suzanne's range, humor, and personal warmth. Tina Sinatra, daughter of Frank Sinatra and a family friend, graciously accepted the star in Suzanne's honor, an emotional moment that underscored the communal respect she had earned during her decades in the industry. Beyond the official tributes, we can also consider the broader social and historical context of Suzanne's achievements. Hers was a career that began in the mid-20th century, an era when Hollywood and Broadway were often shaped by strictly demarcated gender roles, studio politics, and the demands of the network system. That she chose to remain childless, first by chance when she lost the baby during her marriage to Tom Gallagher, then by design for the sake of her career, provokes reflection on how many women in Hollywood faced a near-impossible balancing act between personal aspirations and professional success. The tabloids might have sensationalized her relationships, but behind that was a woman exerting agency in a world that allowed limited freedom to women. Similarly, her persistent drive to chase roles spanning comedic to dramatic, stage to screen, gave her a breadth and depth that many of her contemporaries never achieved. One can also view her readiness to battle for lead roles, such as her intense audition for Gypsy, as evidence of an actress who never lost her stage sensibilities. Even after she established herself in television, she remained an adaptable artist who could shift between leading lady comedic moments, cameo appearances in established dramas, and commanding roles in made-for-television films. In short, she constructed a legacy of consistent, sometimes under the radar, but always top-tier work. And for fans who still revisit the Bob Newhart Show, her portrayal of Emily Hartley stands tall as an exemplar of comedic intelligence, an independent spirit, and just the right dose of warmth. What, then, is the shocking truth about this mysterious actress as teased at the outset? In part, it's the realization that her image as a sultry, confident performer belied a lifetime of private grief, multiple marriages, the devastation of miscarriage, a precarious battle with lung cancer, and the heartbreak of seeing loved ones succumb to terminal illnesses. Yet that reality is also woven together with her unwavering will to keep performing, even when facing tabloid rumors, canceled shows, and physically weakening illnesses. She kept forging ahead, bridging the gap between the classical traditions of stage acting and the modern demands of television's comedic and dramatic forms. We could also speculate that the magnetic, slightly sardonic aura audiences cherished was grounded in real-life experiences that shaped her into an actress of rare emotional intelligence. For instance, losing the role of Louise in Gypsy might have stung, but it also perhaps freed her to capitalize on other opportunities that led her to prime roles on television. Marrying and then divorcing Troy Donahue within months might have upended her personal life, but it didn't halt her professional climb. And even the tragic passing of her second husband, Tom Gallagher, and then her third husband, Tom Poston, occurred hand in hand with her own recurring health challenges. Yet throughout this, she remained determined to appear at major reunion specials, to keep up with public engagements, and to maintain a sense of humor about life's injustices. For fans who watched her in interviews, her dry wit was on full display, as if to remind us that sorrow and levity frequently coexist in the same life story. Her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is a tangible symbol of appreciation for that unwavering commitment. Seeing it unveiled with longtime collaborators and friends paying homage to her warmth and comedic brilliance must have felt like a bittersweet coda to an era. People often speak of how certain personalities remained before their time, but in Suzanne's case, her brand of comedic intelligence and emotional authenticity felt perfectly attuned to the turning tides of 1960s and 1970s entertainment, then effortlessly carried her into new decades as the medium evolved. This journey, Brooklyn to Broadway, from stage actress to comedic sitcom star, from heartbreak to heartbreak, all culminating in a valiant fight against cancer, might leave you with lingering questions. Which aspects of her story resonate most with you? Are you drawn in by the swirl of near-mythical Broadway rivalries, the comedic partnerships with Bob Newhart and other greats, the rumor-fueled appearances on Johnny Carson's late-night stage, or the profoundly human tragedy of losing loved ones too soon? In reflecting on Suzanne's life, we see the mosaic of mid-20th century America through the prism of one actress's experiences, a swirl of glamour, heartbreak, ambition, and success. We see a woman who might, in another timeline, have become the leading voice of a major Broadway production, only to lose out at the final moment but still remain undeterred. We see someone unafraid to show comedic vulnerability on the Bob Newhart Show, a portrayal that subtly challenged the norms of female roles on television. And ultimately, we see an indomitable spirit, one that kept fighting until the final curtain call. Now that you have this deeper, more intimate understanding of Suzanne Plechette's life, you might find your mind drifting toward other underexplored stories in Hollywood history. It's a world filled with legends whose personal struggles remain half buried beneath red carpet glamour and carefully constructed public relations narratives. If you find yourself intrigued and wanting more, you're in luck. There are other stories that echo Suzanne's experiences, stories of stars who soared high but paid a steep personal price along the way. Stick around and check out the next video in this series, where we continue exploring the hidden facets behind the smiles and scripts. Because in Hollywood, as in life, there's always more to the story than meets the eye. And if Suzanne taught us anything, it's that resilience in the face of heartbreak can shine just as brightly as any marquee, perhaps even brighter.